Hi, this is Billie Beene here with another segment of Weather Plus by Billie. Today's date, February 22, 2023. New. This is my third YouTube channel. I have a subscribe button in the lower right corner of my screen. Thanks for like, subscribe, and share on YouTube and Rumble. Episode 40. Ohio evacuation and 3 more to go, according to some sources, by the deep state to do the same thing, a chemical release as they did in Ohio, and to do one in Texas, Kansas, California, and Germany, plus ISIS are working together inside Ukraine. And Colonel Douglas MacGregor says that Russia now has about 700,000 plus ready to go on the border of Ukraine in its new offensive. Some of my sources are God and the Bible Patriot subscriber, Dr. William Mount, Sal M, What's Up with Shipping, Mike Morales, Super Soldier Talk on Rumble, a recent interview published yesterday by James Rink with Jenny Lee. Website of Brighty on Mike Adams, a website with Hal Turner, Clif High. Okay. Now, I saw Mike Morales's weather update. I'll link that for you. And I'm seeing something he says he's never seen before, and neither have I. So here we have Florida, Texas, Mexico, California, coming up to Canada. Okay, so we're having, in my last Weather Plus, I think yesterday, linked Ryan Hall, y'all, and Direct Weather. Now, this is Mike Morales. He puts out his weather forecast usually a couple of weeks at a time, and independent thinker. I like Mike. He also comments on news items. Talking about, we're going to have cold, probably some blizzards, huge. It's going to move across the U.S. Yesterday, so 30 to 50 mile per hour winds, and also ice and cold in this area, moving out to New York and the East Coast. And we know in this area we've got Pennsylvania, Ohio, and we've got this chemical spill that's now spread out to a radius of 400 miles plus. So it's spreading, and it's going to move out to the Gulf of Mexico. Now, I submit the deep state, we believe, perpetrated this evil upon the people of the United States. It's designed to accomplish a couple of objectives the deep state has in this war effort and other things they're doing on a global basis. One of the objectives is to destroy the economy and the military of the United States. So this is designed to take out more farmland, and this is spreading now, and it's logical to believe we also have geoengineering coming in with these weather systems designed to spread this chemical spill. And now it's spread out. Okay, so this morning, what Mike Morales was seeing right here in the Gulf of Mexico, right off the coast of Texas, and Texas is one of the states that its sources are saying the deep state wants to bring about another chemical spill similar to this one. They want to do it in Texas, California, Kansas. Take out the farmland and the productive areas. It also decreases the ability of women to reproduce and have children, plus other things. Okay. So what Mike saw this morning moving in the Gulf of Mexico toward the shore of Texas and Louisiana are black clouds, and I had never seen them. And he's talking about they're in the low atmosphere. So this looks very suspect, like some type of geoengineering chemical, black goo or something is coming in low level over the Gulf of Mexico toward the coast of Texas and Louisiana. So we need to be in prayer for all of this evil that's coming on our nation. I have a prayer prepared for us because, geez, they really do. We saw in 2020 that bioweapon released upon America and all nations around the earth to kill you and I and all people upon the earth and our children. Yes, we've seen that. All right, so we have this. So we have, all right, this news coming out in Israel. We have a deep state form of government going on there. And these are the individuals that Jesus said, you call yourself Jews, but you're not Jews. And the same group that identified with the Sadducees and Pharisees who crucified Jesus. And Jesus said, you're of your fathers, serpents and vipers. Well, they're busy in Israel trying to take away over all forms of government and the court systems and take away all rights for the Israeli people who are genetically Jews. Okay, so they had their first reading of the Noahide laws, and supposedly it passed because they're all together, deep state. And it's to take over not just the Israeli federal law court system, but all courts at every level and control that. And in a related item, in my mind, in Florida, the 26th state, to pass that it's okay for American citizens to carry weapons without a permit. It sort of goes along with this, doesn't it? Maybe the people in Israel need to think about doing something similar. It's only when nations allow themselves to be unarmed that their evil and corrupt governments can come in easier and take them over. Now we have this from Sal M. What's up with shipping? And we have Russia. We have their dollar is going up in value while the US dollar is going down in value and is less accepted on a global basis for shipping. Now, Sal M is talking about the Baltic Dry Measure, which is global shipping in containers of dry materials like grain. And he said this is the largest part of shipping up on Earth. It's of the dry materials. And he said it's the largest drop in the percentage of shipping since 2020 and 2016. Now we have this. We have Russia, we have China going into Argentina and also Africa. Oh, did you know that for a part of the beginning of the movie Outbreak has to do with Africa and a weaponized form of something? Yes, movie Outbreak. What's going on now? And in Argentina, I brought out in my last episode that the deep state is geoengineering earthquakes, just like they did in Turkey and Syria a couple of weeks ago, and still are, because they must control or destroy and kill. So now, these nations, Russia, China, Africa, and Argentina, are combining in a shipping agreement. And so, of course, the deep state is trying to take them out. Now we have this going on with food. So we have in our food section, James Rink with Super Soldier Talk recently interviewed a Christian seer, Jenny Lee, and she's talking about eggs. And we're seeing them go down in availability and go up in price. And she's talking about the egg farms are being burned down or have explosives planted. And sources are saying it's south of the border CIA sleeper cells that are paid by George Soros who are attacking the egg farms. And they want to move the American people to synthetic eggs. Complete with nano things in them. Okay, Mike Adams, health ranger, interviewed an expert, Eric, Coppolino. And I'll list, Mike Adams he's the founder of the platform Brighteon, and he has a platform there. Talking about the dioxin, this happened in the Ohio, East Palestine rail event we saw first February 3, and then they did the burn. That was about February 13, and it's the burning that released this dioxin. And we have several factors that tell us this was a deep state plot. One is I think that was a Netflix, a movie, White Noise. Just came out in January and actually had people from East Palestine playing in a movie that was about a chemical train derailment accident. People had to evacuate. So we had that. And then we also brought out the information about, and that white noise that was supposed to be an East Palestine population of 4,700. Well, we saw 4,700 My ID bracelet actually passed out in the fire departments inside East Palestine in January, and the local government recommending to the people, go and get your My ID bracelet. In the event of an emergency, we can ID you, and it will begin immediately monitoring your heart and breath. Well, if you were going to plant a chemical explosion and you wanted to know what were the effects on the population, we'll hand out these bracelets for them to wear so you can get your information from the satellite. So we had that. We also had the CDC changing information just a month or so ago regarding dioxin and other chemicals that were released in this train derailment in February. And the CDC was changing the criteria for children, saying, their exposure to dioxin and vinyl chloride and these other chemicals, it's the same as being exposed to cigarette smoke, and also increasing the safe level for adults and other humans to be exposed to these chemicals. So we see a concerted effort by this group. Now, this is coming out. There have been 2 other locations in the United States that had a much lower incident of exposure to dioxin. And in both cases, in the 80s and in the 60s, the federal government went into these locations, evacuated all the people, leveled the area, and took away the zip code, because the federal government knows that this dioxin and these other chemicals stay in the ground, in the water, in the air for decades. And they also take away, if you are pregnant, it could cause miscarriage and exposure by young girls to these chemicals can sterilize them. So that's going on. Now, we have this information coming out from Clif High that the deep state has 3 more areas they want to have a similar train derailment and exposure to chemicals. One is Texas, North Texas. One is the Kansas, Nebraska area. And a third is California. And Cliff is saying right now in California and the Santa Barbara area, kind of in a farm area, there are trains sitting still loaded with chemicals. But people have been made aware of what the deep state wants to do, so people are out there with their cameras. It's only by raising these issues and making them public that we can overcome, well, and definitely God and prayer, but by making it public, make this incident go away. And now we have this from Michael Jaco, that in Turkey, we had in Turkey, we had that initial, this is Syria. We had that initial report that was by Dutch Sense of this pulse going out, and then we had other sources that demonstrated the 7.8, the 7.5, the 6.0 earthquakes were geoengineered. And now they had one recently, just a few days ago, about a 6, and others going on. Now, the death rate now from these earthquakes inside Turkey and Syria is going up to 100,000, and injured about 500,000. So yeah, we want to take out all you people. Turkey, you wouldn't, the deep state NATO, shadow NATO, you wouldn't let Finland and Sweden in NATO. So we just take you out and take out your people. And the same thing for Syria, because we had this. We have the Conoco and the U.S. military here. Yeah, taking the oil from Syria. And that's been going on. Okay, and we have this note from Michael Jaco talking about Tulsi Gabbard being a member of military intel. I brought that out a few months ago, and that information also came from Benjamin Fulford. Yeah, so we've got that going on. And now Hal Turner's information. So Hal Turner was 15 years with the FBI and has contacts, intel contacts with the FBI, CIA, the good parts, and other nations around the earth. Okay, this has to do with President Putin's speech he made on yesterday, February 21. And this information is also coming out from Hal, that Germany has a private, this is like a mercenary group, and Germany is hiring ISIS. Yeah, it says on their patch Rodan, and then underneath it they've got the ISIS patch. Remember that group that the deep state raised up in Syria and Iraq and to behead people? Yeah, this group right here. Germany is hiring them to fight for them in Ukraine. So that's going on. And in Syria also. All right, because that's all part of the deep state. They are stealing the oil from the Syrian people. Now, President Putin's speech was one of hearing from God and protecting a Christian, God-observing nation who believes in the values of God, family, and nation, a patriotic speech, and who's also saying their plan for 2023 through 2025. So for the next 2 years, Russia plans to pursue conventional weapons plus nuclear up to 91% of their capability. So we see this is being pitted against the deep states on a global basis, not the Russian people and the Russian government understand it isn't like we the people of other nations. No. Okay, we had Judge Napalitano interviewed a retired Colonel Douglas MacGregor, who brought out this information. Here we have Ukraine, Russia, Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhzhia, Kherson, Odessa, Crimea. Okay, now, Colonel Douglas MacGregor says, right now, Russia has amassed their forces, and I submit they also include Chinese, North Korea, Iran, plus other nations. But they have a force now of 700,000 right here, with tanks and artillery and planes and bombs and other things. Now, Colonel MacGregor says of the 700,000, 250,000 will be the combat soldiers. He's saying that you need this percentage. When you have an army, you have to have like medics, you have to have cooks, you have to have artillery people, you have to have people who can repair the equipment, and people who are moving, driving trucks and moving fuel and so on. So this is the percentage. 700,000 out of that. 250,000 are going to be the combat soldiers who are going to be able to go in, and when they make their move, they're going wall to wall inside Ukraine to take out the entire nation. So that's coming. And he's also bringing this out. There's much division in the NATO nations. There's 31 to 32 nations in NATO. And most of them absolutely don't want war with Russia. No, the people don't either. Okay, so that's going on. Now we have this. Talking about, we've had suspicious observers. That's a science-based weather site I listened to. And this is also some information from James Rink and Jenny Lee. Now, talking about solar flash. Some people believe in this. Jenny says she doesn't. But there is something occurring. Ben Davidson with Suspicious Observers calls it the galactic sheet. Other individuals call it Planet X, something coming in and impacting the Earth. So, now, this is what Jenny Lee says, and this correlates to information I've received also. So we have inside the Earth, we have a vibration. It's normally 7.83 hertz. Hertz is 1 pulse per second. So 7.83 pulses per second. But this has been going up for several years. We have spikes up to 40 to 50. And I think stable, it's up to maybe about 15. So we see the God-given directed pulse within the Earth has been increasing. That means we, the humans on the Earth, we've also been increasing in energy. And it's positive. Now, what Jenny Lee is saying is there are negative individuals upon this earth, and we saw, I've brought out before the percentages by Gene Code and Trey Smith. 70% of the individuals on the earth are hybrids. They're not fully human. So Ginny Lee is saying that these individuals who are less than 52% human in the near future, we're going to see them just falling dead in the streets because they can't live with this increased vibration of the earth. Okay, so that's going on. Now, Jean Lee is bringing this out. Yeah, another sources. JB out soon, at least this summer of 2023. And now we'll cover prosperity. What's going on there? The people want to know prosperity and a change in our government, because we obviously can't go on much longer with this. Okay. JB out, and I think it'll be much sooner than the summer. And in the summer of 2023, we'll have in place, and we do already, and I'm aware that banks on a global basis are now changing their systems over to embrace Nosara Jasara. And so that's in the summer, and this information is 6 months later. So I guess that would be in the fall. We would have the availability of med beds. And we understand that President Trump is currently off planet. We know now we have bases on Mars and the moon and other places. He's with Melania. And that President JB is going to be out, and the other individuals who are not EE'd by the American people. They're just seat warmers. They weren't put in by the people. So JB out, President Trump back in, and very soon, and we have now sources saying that a lot of the deep state, the Rothschild, the Rockefellers are at Gitmo. Now, what we're seeing operating in terms of deep state actions like this East Palestine train derailment and burning are lower level minions who eventually are going to go away too because there's no money for them. Now, the stock market in April, this is being predicted, is going to go down 75%. So that correlates. Yeah. And that's going on. Now, a short prayer. This is from Habakkuk or Habakkuk. All right. The book, chapter 1. The title is, How Long, Lord? Habakkuk cried to God, and we cry also. Why are we seeing iniquity? Why are we seeing violence and the wicked compass the righteous? Why are we seeing law gone slack and judgment stopped? Oh, now we see the Chaldeans, whom we can associate with all evil and bitter nations who rise up in violence against the people of God. And these Chaldeans, these bloody and murdering nations of sorcerers and witches who worship false liar kings. And we say, Father, come with your angel armies and shoot down from the stars and destroy all the evil, bitter nations and groups and their deceitful liar kings who act against the peoples of God. And we say, Father, launch your glittering spears of destiny upon our enemies. And we thank you, Father, and God the Son, Jesus, whom many call Yeshua, and God the Holy Spirit. Amen. I think it's good to remember that God is in charge and He is on the move. I love you, and I'll see you soon.